What kind of person blocks an emergency exit during a life-or-death crisis? That's the question I was screaming in my head when my sister Emma's voice shattered the quiet Sunday afternoon. Her cry, sharp and frantic, ripped through the backyard. I sprinted outside, my pulse hammering, and found Grandpa Joe crumpled under the old maple tree, his face ashen, his breath shallow. Terror clawed at me. "Call 911!" I yelled, grabbing my keys and bolting for the emergency driveway we'd built years ago for moments just like this. Every second mattered. But when I hit the corner, my heart stopped cold. A shiny silver SUV sat square across the exit, its chrome wheels mocking me. It belonged to Susan Carter, the HOA queen who ruled our street like her personal fiefdom. I slammed my fists on the windows empty. No Susan, no keys, just a crisp HOA flyer taped to the windshield, as if that excused choking off our lifeline. I scanned the block and spotted her 3 houses down, holding court at her neighborhood improvement meeting, sipping lemonade, her laughter cutting through the air like glass. Rage burned in my chest, but Grandpa Joe was fading. The main road was a nightmare. Construction had it locked in gridlock. This driveway was our only shot, and Susan had killed it. I pounded on my neighbor's door, panic drowning reason. Mr. Harris, the quiet widower who kept to himself, opened it fast. His eyes darted from my face to the blocked exit, reading the emergency in a split second. Without a word, he reached inside, pulled out a badge, and stepped forward. When he held it up, I saw State Judge etched in gold, gleaming with power. His face was a mask of controlled fury, and as he strode towards Susan like a stone rolling in, I knew 2 things. Grandpa Joe might survive, and Susan's world was about to crumble. The paramedics battled the main road's chaos, weaving around Susan's SUV with agonizing precision, while Grandpa Joe clung to life. I couldn't even look at Susan as she strolled over, arms folded, her face a portrait of fake concern. "It's just a parking spot," she said, shrugging. "He'll be fine." I nearly swung at her, but Harris's voice sliced through, low and deadly. "Judge Harris." He introduced himself, then rattled off the laws she'd broken obstructing emergency access, endangering lives. Susan's smirk flickered, but she didn't back down. She blamed me, the paramedics, even Grandpa Joe, whining that nobody told her the driveway was special. Her voice hit a pitch that could crack windows. She might have slithered away with a slap on the wrist if she'd shown a shred of remorse, but Susan doubled down, puffing up her chest and declaring her HOA presidency gave her authority over community property. Harris pulled out his phone, his tone sharp as a blade. Susan muttered something about needing to grab her kids and backed off, but the trap was closing. As the ambulance whisked Grandpa Joe away, I stayed behind, shaken by her arrogance. Neighbors scattered, but Harris's steel gaze followed Susan as she shot me a victimized glare. He gave me a nod. This wasn't over. Sleep didn't come that night. Images of Grandpa Joe's collapse and Susan's sneer played on a loop. Staring out at the dark street, I realized people like her fed on unchecked power until they crashed into someone like Harris. Anger mixed with a spark of hope. Maybe justice was coming, hard and real. Dawn broke heavy, the sky bruised and tense. Susan was already out, clipboard in hand, phone glued to her ear, spinning her version of the truth. By 8 a.m., an HOA email hit every inbox, signed by Susan, claiming my unmarked driveway caused a community disruption and threatening fines. The lie was so bold I stared at my screen, stunned. My neighbor Rachel texted me screenshots, and Harris messaged, "Save everything." Susan wasn't just digging her hole deeper, she was building her own tomb. By mid-morning, 2 of her minions, Tom and Claire, showed up, clipboards in hand, fake authority dripping. Tom announced a compliance re-VYEW for my violations. I asked what violations. Claire fumbled, muttering about my unapproved driveway. I almost laughed. The city had permitted it before the HOA even existed. I pointed to the reflective, emergency exit signs, and they switched gears, claiming my paint job was confusing. It was pathetic. I demanded a written complaint. They promised to email it and scurried off, glancing back like Harris might materialize. At noon, a black sedan pulled up. Ms. Larson, a judicial ethics officer, stepped out, folder in hand. Harris's call had sparked an investigation into the HOA's actions. Public safety violations don't slide when a judge flags them. I handed over security footage, photos, and Susan's emails. As Larson took my statement, Susan lurked across the street, glaring, her posse whispering. Fear flashed in her eyes. She was slipping. That afternoon, Susan held an emergency board meeting on her lawn, chairs set up like a campaign rally. A dozen loyalists sipped iced tea as she ranted, blaming me, Harris, and a vindictive conspiracy against her leadership. Then she went full scorched earth, announcing a counter-complaint against me for reckless endangerment by faking an emergency. Neighbors gasped, some peeling away from her insanity. Susan mistook their shock for loyalty, vowing to take it to the mayor. It was blind, unhinged confidence, racing toward a cliff. By evening, the street buzzed. Susan's crew unraveled, her flyers ripped down. Harris showed me a county letter. The HOA faced a hearing for code violations, endangering lives, and abuse of power. Susan got one too, her face pale as she read it on her porch, muttering denials. She thought she could bully her way free. She was dead wrong. The next morning, county trucks rolled in, officials with cameras and tape measures swarming Susan's SUV. She stormed out, shrieking about harassment, but they ignored her, logging the blocked exit. Neighbors watched, wide-eyed. Her allies vanished. A deputy slapped a red notice on her door. Further obstruction meant criminal charges. Susan tore it up, stomping in a tantrum, her screams echoing. The city website posted the hearing details, naming Susan and her board. Panic set in. Board members bickered at her house, loud enough for cops to intervene. Harris worked quietly, compiling laws and HOA charter breaches. At my kitchen table, he showed me the driveway's ironclad permits. His grim smile said he wasn't just SAVYing Mayhay was tearing Susan's empire apart. Subpoenas dropped the next day. Susan froze as the process server handed hers over, her bravado replaced by stunned silence. Claire came by later, wringing her hands, apologizing. She spilled everything: Susan's years of intimidation, fines, blacklists, ignoring safety rules. The HOA's own charter protected emergency access, but Susan bent reality to her will. Claire offered to testify, wanting to break the cycle of fear. I agreed this was bigger than me. Harris met with city attorneys, lining up witnesses, including a paramedic delayed by Susan's SUV. The hearing loomed, tension tight as a wire. The morning of the hearing, the neighborhood was silent, holding its breath. The community center hummed, residents packing the rows, some eager, some nervous. Susan swept in late, dressed to impress, her binder hitting the table with a thud, but her polish was fraying, hair messy, smile forced. Tom and the others trailed her, looking miserable. The judge, a no-nonsense woman, read the charges: obstruction, safety violations, endangering lives, abuse of authority. Susan jumped up, spinning a tale of martyrdom, pinning it all on me and Harris. The room stayed cold, her performance landing flat. The city's attorney came in hard. Photos of the SUV, footage of Susan ignoring sirens, my driveway's permits. It was airtight. The paramedic's testimony: minutes lost, lives at risk. Hit like a punch. Susan paled, her confidence crumbling. I spoke next, steady, reviewing Grandpa Joe's collapse, the blocked exit, the fear. The judge took notes. Susan's rebuttal was a train wreck, accusing me of staging Grandpa Joe's crisis for attention. The room erupted in gasps. The judge's eyebrows shot up. Susan stammered, too late to backtrack. Claire testified, exposing Susan's reign of coerced votes and ignored laws. Quiet claps broke out, unchecked. Susan's closing was a sobbing, incoherent mess. The city's was brutal, listing every violation. After a short recess, the judge ruled guilty on all counts. The HOA was suspended, Susan fined Hevyly, barred from leadership, and referred for criminal charges. She stood, mouth agape, as her power vanished. Outside, residents buzzed with relief. Susan sat alone, clutching her binder broken. I drove home, the wind in my face, feeling free. Harris raised his coffee in a quiet salute. I nodded back. Days later, the HOA restructured. A town hall drew hundreds, the mood light, hopeful. Rachel took over as president, and the new board prioritized safety. They gave me a plaque for community service. Harris handed me a map of the exit, saying, "Guard what matters." Susan put her house up for sale, slipping away quietly, defeated. The park bloomed, the community garden thrived, and new exit signs gleamed. Grandpa Joe's family sent a plaque. "Thank you for saving lives." I hung it with pride. Fall settled in, calm and warm. Kids biked, neighbors chatted, trust rebuilt. Susan's shadow was gone, but our strength endured, forged in a fight we didn't pick but won together.